I think this episode is gonna have like every fan in agreement that we didn't see the good guy Teppei arc coming. But before we jump into that amazing content, I do want to bring up what the title of this review is. Higurashi GOU is going to be more than 24 episodes. It's pretty much all but confirmed at this point in time. Now, before even Higurashi was airing, there was rumors that it would have eventually a title change like it originally did when they added GOU to the title. No one really knows if that leak was true, but the channel that this series is airing on, when the last episode happens, they highlight the last episode, and there's up to episode 30 already listed in the TV guide. It still doesn't have the highlighter, meaning it's going to at least be 31 episodes, but that's a weird spot to end a show, and as far as we know, nothing is taking its slot. So we can pretty much be confident that we're getting at least one more core of Higurashi. The question is, why wouldn't they announce the official title? Are they going to just lead into the next anime? Is it going to be technically a new anime in the Higurashi? Who knows, but it kind of makes sense because when people know a show's going to end at 24 episodes, you know the ending's in sight. And everyone's been saying, how are they going to wrap it up in 2 episodes? And had we not know about the TV guide, how would they wrap it up with 1 more episode? But they're not going to be. So it's really interesting to see how this story has been such a roller coaster of emotions, and it makes even more sense when you take into consideration that we have the uncle kind of experiencing so many bad dreams of all the loops where he was such a piece of shit that he's now so fearful of dying alone that he's actually become a pretty decent guy. This show is incredible, and I'm so excited to see it carry over into the spring season because, like I've said, this has been my favorite show to review, and it's going to be a blast to carry on for at least another 7 episodes or so. This was a really interesting episode, and I once again have to commend the author for how he wrote abuse, and in this case, how he wrote abuse and someone trying to make amends but that person still having fears. As someone who knows people in his own life that have experienced very abusive family situations, I've seen firsthand those people try to become better people and reach out to these people, but they don't want anything to do with them because of the pain they put them through. So to have Sadako meet up with the uncle, and then the uncle, yes, we know from our perspective the uncle is being serious. There's probably not an abuse bone left in his body, which is quite shocking, but is, I guess, one of the happy side effects of people close to the looper remembering the past loops. But for someone like Sadako, she has no reason to believe that he won't abuse her again. And I really like the scene where it's building up to such an emotional, like, positive outcome. Hey, can we just be on speaking terms? Just touch my hand, but she remembers all the times that he hit her, and she flinches in despair. That is one of the most realistic abuse scenes I think I've ever seen, because the viewer has that godlike perspective. We get to see every character's motivation if the anime director wants us to, and in this case we do. We know Teppei's motivations, what's leading him to do these things, and unless the author just wants to be an asshole for the sake of it, it feels like he actually is trying to be a good person in this loop. But for someone like Sadako who's experienced so much abuse from this person, even these nice actions could be some sort of deceit. And while she does have the ability to loop, and I feel like she'll then use that to her advantage, which most likely is what she did, because the uncle probably never abused her in this anime, she forced the uncle to do these things in order to kind of rope all these people into the situation, like Keiichi getting the bat to the head. It's really interesting, and it's going to be very sad because it feels like the direction they're building up is that Sadako, she will accept his help because she can loop, but she's going to manipulate him into doing bad things because he doesn't want to die alone, and that is going to be tragically depressing if that's the direction they're going. I think out of every possibility of what this episode could have been, this is probably least on everyone's list. And I didn't take too much of a look, but I just glanced quickly, and I'm seeing people fan of the visual novel, the original anime, new to this, all saying we never expected a good guy uncle arc, but here we are. And I think the idea of having this episode pretty much start with having Sadako use her looping abilities to have this perfect memory game and have everyone just be shocked as we are just casually talking with a god and saying, you know, I'm just going to use this to my advantage. Rika is someone who likes to roll the dice in terms of how she wants fate to go. I'm going to take fate by the nuts, basically. And then you see how we get the idea that, you know, someone like Keiichi is freaking out remembering these loops and what he did in them. And then we get the uncle. And it's such a fascinating idea. And it feels like almost every episode of Higurashi is getting progressively better and more interesting. And to have the idea, because for me personally, while I had a feeling after we learned that someone like Sadako's been looping, that she's been manipulating all this all along. And even back when we had the uncle abuse arc in this anime, there was speculation because there was no marks on her. There was a scene with Sadako in the shower and there was no marks on her back or anything, and she was flinching like she's been getting beaten, bruised, but there's no signs of abuse. But now seeing this, it feels like that's the direction they're going, is that Sadako's actually going to give in and probably enjoy that life for a brief while, probably remember what it is she's trying to do, and she's going to manipulate the uncle probably into doing bad things on her behalf so he doesn't die alone, and that's going to explain the previous abuse arc, and that's gonna be interesting. And even if they don't go that exact direction, it feels like at some point she's got to be manipulating him because she can do a little snap of the fingers and everything goes her way. This was an incredible yet so shocking episode, and we've seen some shocking things. I might go as far to say the reveal of the uncle remembering the loops and being so afraid of what could happen, that might be the most shocking thing we've seen so far. Even more shocking than Sadako being another looper and everything that she's done. I love what Higurashi's been able to do with this roller coaster. It never feels like you have a climb. It almost always feels like maybe like half the episode you start the climb, but then you're going to drop way down again. It just is a constant roller coaster of emotions. And I think, literally, if there was no TV guide saying there was more Higurashi episodes coming next month, I would be right there with everyone last week saying, there's no way they can wrap this up. There's no possible way. Because there literally is no way. The question I have, is this going to technically be considered the same anime, or are they going to do another title change? Because when Higurashi first started, it was just called Higurashi New, and then the GO title got added. So are they going to do another title switch after episode 24? And that's going to be, the author's big kind of like, see, I keep trolling you, you never know when the show's going to end. We're going to end up with 10 cores of Higurashi before we know it. I'm curious though, because originally Higurashi was supposed to come out a lot earlier, but then obviously Corona delayed everything. I'm curious if this was always originally supposed to be 24 episodes, they would take a break and then come back, but because of the delays, maybe they just took it and rolled with it, and that's why we're getting maybe 3, if not 4 consecutive cores. That's going to be interesting, but it's good to know that we are getting more than 24, because after last week I was saying there's a way for them to end it pretty negatively, but there's even a positive end. After this episode, there's no way to end it next week, so it's good to know there's going to be more, because there's still so much left to tell, so much left to explore with the Shard world, but especially with Sadako and Rika, because Sadako still has a lot more to explain from her perspective, and then we need to see them compete against each other, fight each other, whatever it's going to be, and the resolution of why this was even happening in the first place, right? This was a great episode. I think in terms of just pure shock value, was one of the most interesting, if not the most interesting, for saying I did not see that coming, while also starting to put into perspective what happened earlier in this anime with its abuse arc. This show's incredible, and I am so excited for more. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below about the extended episode count and what you thought about the uncle's redemption arc. Let me know your feelings down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you have been new around here. Since next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.